Hello and welcome to This Is, where we have a very special guest on Who Wants to Be a Phone Millionaire, the one and only SerieSMrMobile. How's it going, my friend?
It's going very well, and allow me to be the first to say I'm very glad you guys haven't been sued out of existence by ABC yet. Just keep on going with that title. I think it's going to work out.
Look, we're just going to keep making videos, and they can play whack-a-mole as much as they want, but as long as we fit into YouTube, fair use. There's a bunch of other excuses YouTubers use to blatantly rip things off. We'll be fine. I have no problems.
Amen to that.
The game today is very simple. We have a list of 10 phones from various different eras that we're going to show you, and you have to answer 2 questions about each. First of all, the name of the phone. Second of all, the year that phone came out. However, we are going to give you a handicap of plus or minus 1 year. So say a phone came out in 2005, you can get 2004 or 6, and that will be counted as a correct answer. As soon as you hit 50%, so you get 10 questions, aka you could get the year on every single one right and the name of every single one wrong, you would technically be the winner of the game. If you would like, we've done this with a few of our other guests, we have a wager to offer you. If you're able to hit that 50% threshold and successfully guess our game correctly, then you will get to tweet whatever it is that you want from the This Is Twitter account. However, if you are not able to reach the 50%, and we will consider hitting 50% being a tie to go in your favor, then you must tweet out a subscribe to This Is link. Does that seem like a fair gentleman's wager to you?
You know, I'm dubious about it, but as long as I'm allowed to include profanity and obscene gestures in my tweet from your account, then yeah, we're golden. Let's go.
Excellent. Then let's play Who Wants to Be a Phone-illionaire? So I changed it up there. They can't sue me for phone-illionaire. That's just dumb. Let's begin with phone number 1.
Oh, man. How dare you, sir? How dare you start off immediately in hard mode? We have an off-axis D-pad here. We have a touchpad with a stylus that's under a flip. This is a phone. This is the first phone I would have showcased in when phones were fun if I had ever known it existed. I have no idea what this is. Can I guess?
You do have one lifeline available, which is Phone a Ken, where you can phone our wonderful friend, Ken Bolito, who may be helpful or may lead you astray depending on his mood and whether or not he knows what this bizarre phone is. So you have the lifeline. You can use it at any point throughout the game, but just so you know, you've got that in the back pocket.
Copy that. Well, I've got 9 phones to go, so I don't want to burn my Phone a Ken yet. And I think I can at least pin down a rough approximation of the year and then make up a product name. So I think I'm ready to do that. I'm ready to say that this debuted in 2004 and that it was called the Nokia 7150.
Michael Fisher from MrMobile. You have 50% score so far. Yes, so this is the Nokia 6108. So props, you got very close to the actual real name. And it is from 2003, which is inside the handicap. So you get 50% points. This is a tough one, right?
That was a really tough one. I'm demoralized. I'm going to walk if you do that to me again. No, I'm kidding. That was great. I've never seen that phone before. I can't wait to look it up.
All right. So far, so good. Let's move on to phone number 2.
Oh, I believe I recognize this phone. Now, I don't want to get overconfident. I believe I recognize it, and that's what I'm saying. But I don't want to get too cocky here. Now that's running Android. It's running. I think it's running like right before ICS, whatever that version of Android was. And I think my friend owned this phone on my recommendation. The side-mounted USB port is throwing me a little bit, but oh man, I hope I'm right because it looks like it. Is that the Nexus S from the year 2010?
MrMobile, you were once again 50% correct. It is in fact the Samsung Continuum, but it is from 2010.
Man, okay, well that's why, all right, 50% I'll take it, okay.
So what made this phone bizarre and ultimately kind of silly is the fact that it actually has a secondary 1.8-inch display below the button. So that top part is the real screen, and the bottom part is pretty much specifically for notifications, which is silly because they could have just made the phone 1.8 inches taller, or half an inch, or whatever the actual height of that screen is.
Austin, you know that. It had to be fun. Come on. Look how I didn't notice the display division. Of course that's the Continuum. I forgot about that entirely. Ah, what a great phone.
All right. Well, so far, you're doing actually really quite well. You're at 50% points so far. So it means you're well within you keep this up, you're on the path to victory. So let's move on to phone number 3.
Oh, wow. You've thrown me off with a distinct colorway on this one. There's another trap here because this could be one of two very distinctive Motorola phones. I know this is a Motorola phone, and I'm fairly certain it's the Motorola StarTAC and not the Motorola TimePort because of the LCD that I'm seeing instead of the whatever the organic color display was. I think this is a Motorola StarTAC, and I'm gonna say the year on this is gonna be 2000.
All right, so I'm hearing word from the producer. You were close to the name, but we need a little bit more specificity. Do you have anything more than Motorola StarTAC?
There were multiple models of the StarTAC. So you want like a model number, you sadists?
There are 2 subheadings for the phone. If you get either of them correct, I will give you points on this one. You're very close, but there were quite a few StarTACs.
But looking at this in its strange mustard and green livery and its key layout and nothing is setting it off for me, and it can't be a TimePort. I can't say. The Motorola StarTAC TurtleCom edition, that's what it is.
I'm sorry to say I can't give you points on this one. This is the StarTAC 70 Rainbow. So this was available in 1997.
97, you are kidding me.
97. So the StarTAC actually was the first fully flip phone, well, I guess fully flip phone in the traditional sense, back in 96, and this was the Rainbow limited edition, or I guess it was limited. It was the Rainbow edition that came out a year later. All right, let's move on to phone number 4.
This is a phone that gives you Geordie vision. This is a phone that allows you to see in 3 dimensions. I think the name includes a reference to that. I think the manufacturer is HTC, and I think Sprint carried it, and I think it was under the Evo brand. So I think if you put all that together, it's probably the HTC Evo 3D from the year 2011.
MrMobile, you are 100% correct. It is in fact the 2011 HTC Evo 3D. So this one was special because not only did it have a 3D screen, but of course it could record 3D video with those weird cameras on the back. Now, this was a phone that I remember thinking was really cool because this is around the time of, what was it, the 3DS, right? Where like people were really getting excited about 3D.
But it was also super confusing because the immediate predecessor to this phone was the Evo 4G. So to have the next year an Evo 3D, it was like, wait, what? And I just remember reading like headlines of reviews at the time where it's like, yeah, this phone is cool, but it gives me a headache if I look at it too much. So I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of a negative.
So Mr. Fisher, I'm very happy to say you were back up to 50% with that question. So how are you feeling right now?
Feel good. I'm perspiring less, breathing a little bit easier, but I think you're lulling me into a trap.
All right, let's move on to phone number 5.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I loved this one. I wanted to cover it and I couldn't because of reasons. I don't think we had a relationship with the manufacturer, which I think was Oppo. And this is tricky because I think there was more than one model made with this rotating camera array, which by the way is a really good idea that I wish more manufacturers had adopted. And I think, though, this is maybe the first one they did. I hope it is, even though it looks a little more refined. I'm gonna guess this is the Oppo N1 from 2012.
I've got to say, you had me there for a second, and then you really had me because you were 100% correct. Yes, it is the Oppo N1 from 2013, but that absolutely is close enough to get full points on this one.
Okay, good. I was really worried because I didn't remember the Mint one, so I'm like, was that a weird sequel that I'm not remembering? Like what? Okay. I've never touched one. I really want to.
Neither have I, but yeah, of course, this was famous for being one of the first phones with the rotating camera. I don't remember, was this one motorized or was it the one, I think you had to flip this one, right?
I thought it was motorized, but again, I'm very confused about whether it was the sequel or not, so it's possible it could have been the manual turnaround, but even if it was, what a great idea, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and of course, something like the Zen phone many years later would kind of take that design to the next level. But yeah, so absolutely, you were doing very, very well, my friend.
Thanks, man. Wow, that feels good.
All right, time to move on to phone number 6.
You're a very kind person. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for throwing me this bone in what I presume will continue to be a difficult game. But I think I can do this one. I think this is made by Samsung, even though you've blotted out the branding. This is from 2003 because it was released in conjunction with the second Matrix film. And as a result, It is called the Samsung Matrix phone, aka the N270.
That is incredibly impressive. Yes, you are 100% correct. And yes, we did pull this from a recent wonderfully titled MrMobile video. But yeah, you are 100% right. Not only was this released alongside the movie, and it was used for like, what, 2 seconds in the actual, it was Matrix.
Like in the intro.
In the intro.
It's in like 5 shots of the movie, and it's probably total screen dwell time is like 4 seconds over across the whole movie. Yeah. Oh, what a pleasure it was to finally get a hold of one of these.
I've got to say, man, you are really turning it around right now. You've gotten the last 3 questions 100% correct, which means you are getting very close to clinching the game if you can hold it together for just a little bit longer.
Is this when you start rolling out all the alphabet soup Nokias? Because I know you've got them. I know you're going to punch me in the face.
Well, you never know. You never know. We have many more phones available, starting with phone number 7.
Speaking of the Matrix, even though this is not the original edition of it, this was the resurrected one for, I believe, 2018. Excuse me, I was going to say 2017. I think 2018. And they carried the same model number over, but they added a 4G to it, I think. So I believe we're looking at the Nokia 8110 4G.
You're 100% correct. It is, in fact, the Nokia 8110 4G 2018 edition. And like some other recent Nokia phones, they've straight reused the name and just added like 3G or 4G to it, which is very confusing when you're researching these phones and you find like, wait, that doesn't look quite right. So MrMobile, I'm very happy to report that you are currently at 10 points, which means at this point, you actually have clinched the victory. You can get the next 3 phones completely wrong and still win the game. However, we do have one level farther. If you would like, you can go double or nothing on a potential 11th question. But we do have double or nothing available, which is, if you get the 11th phone correct, you will be able to earn a free ad spot on This Is, that we will plug whatever it is that you want for 30 seconds in a future This Is video. However, if you do not get this mystery phone correct, then you will leave with nothing, no tweet, absolutely nothing, and it is as if this game has never happened. You don't have to decide right now, just gonna float the idea out there. But you are doing very well right now, my friends, very, very well.
You really know how to, just the moment someone starts relaxing a little bit, you really know how to ratchet the screws back to them. I appreciate that, Austin, thank you. Back to tense and scared, okay.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to phone number 8.
Oh, yes, indeed. I have very little idea who made this. You know what's weird though? I think I may have said this brand name earlier. Maybe I'll get partial credit. I think, so this is a 2-way messaging device. This is like a pager sort of thing from the year 2001. It's made by Motorola and it's called the, they reused the TimePort brand. It's the Motorola TimePort 2-way from 2000.
MrMobile, you are 50% correct. It is in fact the Motorola V100 or the V-Box from 2000.
Hey, well, I got the year right. Okay, and it was Motorola who made it. Wow.
But yeah, this is back in the weird days. I just look at the color scheme of this. I can't help but think it's like for kids or something. It just looks so fun and it looks so playful. Let's move on to phone number 9.
I should have, I doubled down on studying the weird Nokias before this, but I should have gone across the aisle to my friends at Siemens, because I think that's who's responsible for this thing. Sadly, I don't know the model number at all, or what it even might have been called, so I'm going to say it was the Siemens Compact Deluxe Pro X from, I still think this is from the golden age of like experimentation though, so I want to say this is like this is a 2003 phone.
Mr. Fisher, you've made it very far in this game so far, and you're going to continue because you are 50% correct. It is in fact from 2003 and it is a Siemens. However, it is the Celebri 6. This was a very bizarre device, and that it was as part of the fashion-oriented Celebri line, where it actually had mirrors. So essentially it had the flat mirror where it had that tiny little screen in the middle of it, and then it also had a magnifying mirror if you wanted to, quote, adjust your mascara or eyeliner on the go.
I can't wait to go get one. I'm going to get one of those too. I'm so excited.
I bet it's not going to be particularly expensive if you can find one that's not been relegated to the scrap heap of time.
Oh, I'm sure they're out there. We'll go call up the Mobile Phone Museum, see if they want to lend me something.
Cool, cool. All right, let's move on to potentially the final question. Phone number 10.
Great Odin's Raven. This fell off like a Power Rangers belt clip in the middle of a shoot and somebody stole it. I'm gonna go with 2006 for the year, and I'm going to call this the Bad Admiral's communicator from manufacturer Nokia.
You know what? It is in fact a Nokia. But unfortunately, you talked yourself out of the correct answer. It is from 2008. This is the Nokia 7070 Prism.
Of course it's a 7000 line, the weirdo warehouse. Tell me about it. Tell me things.
So I'm sad to say it's actually pretty unremarkable. So it was part of the Prism lineup. So there were a couple of other more expensive options, including the 7500 and 7900 Prisms that actually had like an RGB accent. But this was the more basic, simple model that didn't have a camera, but it did look cool or evil, depending on your perspective.
I can't believe that's so bizarre. Thank you again for introducing me to another strange artifact. I gotta get me one of those too.
I feel like we're about to see some very exciting MrMobile videos in the coming months.
As long as this quarantine keeps going, man, I'm gonna keep showing you old phones, so yeah. Hey.
MrMobile, for double or nothing, do you want to take the challenge of our 11th question? Or do you want to go home with your nice, safe Twitter prize and the happy victory that you have acquired here today?
I watched a few game shows as a kid, Austin, and the number of times I've shouted at the screen, do the true daily double, or go for the million is innumerable. So as ill-advised and stupid as it is, I'm hoping Ken can pull me out. I'm gonna stick around. Let's do this. Let's make it a true daily double super millionaire Wheel of Fortune. Who wants to be?
All right, the next phone, please, for the win.
This is a phone manufactured by Sharp. It was dreamed up by Danger, and it's called the Danger Hip Top, which was rebranded as the T-Mobile Sidekick and a number of other things, depending on what regional carrier it was. So there's that. The question is the year. Danger sort of started working on something called the Peanut in 1999, 2000. And then there was a color version of this device that came out in 2002. But this appears to be a black and white screen, which would mean, I think that it came out in 2001. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say Danger Hip Top / T-Mobile Sidekick, depending on where you bought it. And the year, this is the first one, and the year was 2001.
Before you lock your final answer in, would you like to take advantage of your phone again?
I'm already calling my man. It's important to me that I get as much of this as possible. So, Ken, I'm looking at do you remember when the first T-Mobile Sidekick / Danger Hip Top launched? 0 or 01? Which one?
01.
Terminated.
That didn't seem super helpful. What did he say? Did you hear what he said at the end? I think he got cut off, right?
The only question in my mind was it 01 or 02, and I really think with this black and white screen, I think 2000 would have been too early. I think 2002, they already had the color one out, dude. Unless the black and white one and the color one were released concurrently in 02. I gotta stick with it. I'm saying 2001.
So your final answer is the 2001 Danger Hip Top.
Correct.
MrMobile. This is, in fact, the Danger Hip Top from 2002.
Oh, come on. You're kidding. They released the black and white one in 2002?
Yes, so the first generation did have the monochrome screen.
No, I know, and they gave it a color display in the same casing in almost the same year.
I feel bad about this one, man. I feel bad about this one. You killed this game you did such a good job all the way to the very end, and then we shamelessly ripped it away from you with a trick question.
It's a great trick question. Like it is one of the best trick questions ever because it lulls you into a false sense of security first, and then makes you double question yourself. And then, until you end up on the phone with Ken and, as much of a giant help as that was, you just go down in flames. Thanks, Ken. No, I'm kidding. It's that's What a wonderful question, and what a great game. I have no regrets whatsoever.
Well, what a wonderful guest. Thank you very much, Mr. Mobile, for being on Who Wants to Be a Phone-illionaire? So while sadly you're walking away with nothing, hopefully you've learned a new appreciation, even though I feel like you're the last person on earth who needs a new appreciation for this, of weird old phones. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Of course, feel free to go subscribe to the one and only Mr. Mobile, who has many, many weird phones that he's reviewed on his channel. Ultimately, you're the one who we had to save the hard mode for. I feel like no one else had a chance of making it through this one besides you.
I am honored to have been considered even for hard mode, and I will tell you this, you have not finished hearing about the T-Mobile Sidekick / Danger Hip Top this week.
Ooh. Ooh, wait, are you trying to say this is an exclusive? Are you about to drop a hip top video on us?
A little bit of episode 3 of When Phones Were Fun, baby. Coming sooner than you think.
Excellent.